The first thing you notice is the silence. Not a true silence, but the dense, expectant hush of 1,000 people holding their breath. The stage of the Royal Albert Hall, a colossal space steeped in the ghosts of classical symphonies and rock legends, is bathed in a single, stark spotlight. At its center stands a woman, diminutive in frame but monumental in presence. She is dressed not in the glittering, skin-bearing costumes of her pop past, but in a simple, elegant black suit, her posture straight as a conductor's baton. This is RAYE, but not as we once knew her. Tonight is not merely a concert, it is a coronation, a visceral, collective sigh of relief, and a eulogy for the girl she had to leave behind. The tears behind the funk is more than a catchy headline. It is the precise coordinates of RAYE's artistic universe. Her music, particularly on her seismic debut album, My 21st Century Blues, is a masterclass in duality. It makes your body move with deep, irresistible grooves, then, in the very next beat, splits your heart open with a lyric so raw it feels like a private confession overheard. This is the story of how those tears forged that funk, how professional captivity sparked a personal revolution, and how RAYE, at 26, opened up like never before because she finally had the one thing she'd fought for her entire life: ownership. The factory-made prodigy in the gilded cage. To understand the rupture, one must first understand the mold. RAYE, born Rachel Keene, was a preternatural talent, signing her first publishing deal at just 17. She emerged in the mid-2010s, an era defined by streaming-friendly, producer-driven pop. She had the voice, a stunning, agile instrument that could glide from a jazz-inflected whisper to a soul-shattering belt, and the hit-making intuition. She became the secret weapon, the featured artist on dance tracks like By Your Side by Jonas Blue and You Don't Know Me by Jax Jones, her voice the memorable hook on songs that dominated global charts. To the outside world, she was a success story, but within, she was building a prison with each hit. She was signed to a major label under a traditional, restrictive deal that promised her an album, 7 albums in fact, but perpetually delayed them, preferring to mine her for singles and lucrative features. I was this young, eager girl who signed a contract that basically said my destiny was not my own, she recounts, her voice calm now, but etched with the memory of the pain. I was a puppet. They had the master recordings. They had the control. I'd go into sessions and be told, we need a top line for this track, not what do you want to say today. My artistry was an afterthought to commerce. The tears during this period were private, stifled. They were cried in taxi rides home from sessions where her ideas were dismissed, in the loneliness of hotel rooms on tour, in the frustration of watching years slip by. She wrote brutally honest songs about her struggles, with body image, with addiction in her family, with anxiety, only to have them filed away as too dark, not commercial. She was forced to perform a version of herself that was sexy, cool, and palatable, while inside she was crumbling. I was singing songs I didn't believe in, wearing clothes I didn't choose, smiling for cameras when I wanted to scream. That disconnect, it eats at your soul. You start to wonder if you're the problem. The breaking point in the viral emancipation. The dam broke on a summer evening in 2021. After yet another album delay, a final no, RAYE took to Twitter, typing through tremors of fear and liberation. In a series of raw, unedited tweets, she laid bare the architecture of her captivity. She revealed the 7-album contract, the years of being told she wasn't good enough for a release, the mental health toll of being an artist stuck in a major label jail. The music industry, which often operates on whispered grievances, was suddenly confronted with a screaming public testament. I had nothing left to lose, she says now. My career as I knew it was already over. The only path forward was to burn it down and see what grew from the ashes. The response was a tidal wave. The hashtag #FreeRAYE trended globally. Fellow artists from established legends to struggling newcomers voiced their support. The public, who had known her as a voice on hits, now met the formidable woman behind it. This wasn't a calculated PR move, it was a nuclear option for her sanity, and it worked. She was released from her contract. But freedom was terrifying. She was now an independent artist, owning her masters, but also owning all the risk. The tears now were different. They were of overwhelming fear, but also of profound possibility. It was in this scorched earth landscape that My 21st Century Blues began to take shape, not as a product, but as a necessity. My 21st Century Blues, the alchemy of pain into power. The album is the definitive map of RAYE's psyche. It is unflinchingly autobiographical, each track a chapter from her diary. The funk and blues of the title are not just genres, they are emotional states alchemized into sound. Take escapism. On the surface, it's a hedonistic 070 shake-assisted anthem of late-night chaos, a global smash. But listen closer. Over that dark, trap-inflected beat, the lyrics are a cry of distress. I'm distracted, I'm empty, I'm stressed. A different bed, different man every night. The tear is right there, glistening in the club light. It's the sound of using physical abandon to outrun emotional pain. Then there's Ice Cream Man, perhaps the album's most devastating moment. Over a sparse, haunting piano melody, RAYE sings in a trembling, close-mic'd voice about sexual assault. He was my ice cream man, until he put his hands where he shouldn't have. It is a masterclass in vulnerability, the tear fully formed and flowing, shared not for pity, but for testimony. She transforms a personal horror into a chillingly universal lament, her voice breaking in ways that are palpably real, not performative. But the tears don't just sit in sadness, they water the seeds of resilience. Hard Out Here is pure, defiant funk. Over a slapping bass line and triumphant horns, RAYE recounts the industry's misogyny and her triumphant comeback. You've only got your yes man in the room, trying to get a secret out my womb, she snarls before declaring her independence. The tear here has evaporated into sweat, the sweat of hard work, of dancing through the pain, of surviving. This is the album's genius. It never sits in one emotion. The confessional Body Dysmorphia, a sparse UK garage-influenced track, sits beside the swaggering jazz club empowerment of Black Mascara. The grief-stricken Mary Jane, about her grandmother's Alzheimer's, gives way to the soaring, gospel-tinged hope of Bust It Down. RAYE conducts this emotional orchestra with the skill of someone who has lived every note. The blues is the raw material. The 21st century sound, a fusion of UK garage, soul, hip-hop, and classic jazz, is how she processes it. The funk is the kinetic energy of survival. Part 4. The live spectacle. Catharsis in concert. If the album is the confession, the live show is the absolution. The now legendary Royal Albert Hall performance, released as a live album, is the ultimate realization of her vision. She is not just a singer, she is a narrator, a preacher, a comedian, a survivor, guiding her audience through collective catharsis. She introduces Ice Cream Man by speaking softly to the crowd. This song is about something that happened to me, and if it's happened to you, I am so sorry. You are not alone. Let's sing this one together. What follows is not a somber dirge, but a powerful, shared exorcism. She pauses during Body Dysmorphia, having the entire hall shout "fuck you" to their insecurities. The tears in the audience are visible, but they are not of sadness alone. They are of recognition, of release. She commands the stage with a new authority. She dances with athletic joy. She sits at the piano with intimate grace. She stands at the microphone and holds the room in a pin-drop silence. The funk becomes a physical, shared celebration. The tears become a sacred, collective offering. It is the final, undeniable proof that her artistry, ungoverned, unfiltered, and deeply human, was not only viable, but necessary. Part 5. The New Blueprint. Legacy and Looking Forward. RAYE's story has reverberated far beyond the charts. It has become a case study in artistic resilience and a rallying cry for a more equitable industry. She has shown that owning your narrative, both the pain and the joy, is the ultimate power. The little girl who was told to be quiet now sells out the Royal Albert Hall and wins the Brits' coveted Songwriter of the Year award, all on her own terms. The tears behind the funk were the price of admission. They were the cost of being gaslit, of being silenced, of being treated as a commodity. But RAYE refused to let them define her as a victim. Instead, she collected them, distilled them, and mixed them with the defiant rhythms of her heritage and her heart. She transformed private anguish into public anthems, proving that the most potent art often comes from the deepest wounds. As she looks to the future, the pressure of the 7-album deal is gone, replaced by the boundless excitement of possibility. "I feel like I've only just begun," she smiles, a glint in her eye that is equal parts warmth and defiance. "I have a lifetime of stories to tell now, and no one to tell me I can't. This is my century. These are my blues." And so, the woman in the black suit on that hallowed stage takes a final bow. The silence has erupted into a thunderous, weeping, cheering roar. Behind her, the funk echoes in the rafters. Before her, a path she built herself, glistening not with false gold, but the hard-won, authentic light of a self-liberated artist. RAYE didn't just open up, she blew the door off its hinges, and in doing so, invited us all to do the same.